This is Nico Hulkenberg, a seasoned Formula 1 driver with 14 years on the grid. He's competed against some of the greatest names in the sport, the likes of Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and even Michael Schumacher, just to name a few. But as many of you know, despite his many opportunities, Hulkenberg has never stood on the podium in Formula 1. Despite this, Hulkenberg was just chosen by Audi as their first signing for their brand new Formula 1 works team, set to debut in 2026. At a glance, choosing one of the oldest drivers on the grid who doesn't hold a single trophy might seem unconventional, especially when we consider that there are younger and more successful drivers available. So why did Audi place their bet on him? Today, we'll uncover why Formula 1's trophyless driver just might be the most underrated on the grid.
He said your pole position.
Now, to understand why Nico Hulkenberg is considered underrated, we must first explore what actually makes a good Formula 1 driver, especially for a new team such as Audi. Now, historically speaking, there are three key elements that most new Formula 1 teams will look for. The first being overall pace. This is of course the ability to be fast consistently, both in a single qualifying lap and throughout an entire race. However, pace is crucial because it directly affects the team's results on race day. The second, and equally just as important, is technical ability. And this refers to the driver's ability to provide feedback about the car's performance. For a new team, understanding what works and what doesn't is vital for rapid improvements and being able to actually be competitive in the sport. The driver can guide the team's engineers on making the necessary adjustments that they're going to need throughout the entire season. And finally, you've got brand image. Formula 1 is as much a business as it is a sport. For a brand like Audi, which is synonymous with performance and German engineering, it's important that their drivers also embody these values. The drivers not only race, but they also represent the team and the company's image worldwide. Nico Hulkenberg, remarkably, checks almost all of these boxes for Audi, and he comes in at a bargain price, with a contract reportedly just worth $2 million per year, a stark contrast to drivers like Max Verstappen, who are currently on $55 million per year contracts with the likes of Red Bull. And with the up-and-coming technical regulation reset in 2026, Hulkenberg has a pivotal role in determining whether Audi will thrive, like Mercedes and Aston Martin when they entered the sport, or sink, like Haas and Williams have in recent years. Now, if you've only just started watching Formula 1, you might not understand all the praise that Hulkenberg's getting. He's a driver who's been messing around in a backmarket team Haas since 2023, after being on the sidelines since 2019. But Hulk is anything but a bad driver. Now, Nico Hulkenberg is often referred to as the Hulk, and he isn't just another name in the Formula 1 paddock. His journey in motorsports truly lives up to the moniker. So, starting his career with a bang, Nico clinched the GP2 Series Championship in 2009, right in his debut season, something which many of the current F1 prospects and drivers haven't even been able to do. But he didn't even stop there. His entry into Formula 1 was marked by a pole position at the 2010 Brazilian Grand Prix during his rookie year, a monumental feat. Now, this was a wet qualifying session, and if you're interested in why Formula 1 needs more of these, watch my video on screen once you're done with this one. But unlike many other drivers, Nico's talents aren't confined to the Formula 1 tracks. In 2015, he ventured into the challenging world of endurance racing, and he participated in the 24 Hours of Le Mans with Porsche.
So you are the only F1 driver and LMP1 driver in the world now, yeah?
Currently, yes.
He teamed up with Nick Tandy and Earl Bauer. Hulkenberg didn't just participate, he dominated. He won Le Mans on his first attempt, arguably the most prestigious motor racing event in the world. Now, although he's won Le Mans, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Nico hasn't stood on the podium in Formula 1, but it's easy to focus on the podiums that Hulkenberg has missed, and it's important to consider the full context of those races. Many point to specific mistakes that Hulkenberg may have made once or twice, which cost him dearly. But we need to remember that even the best make errors, even when they're under pressure. But there are some notable mistakes that are often highlighted, and they include the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix, where Nico was in a strong position and possibly heading on for a podium, but he then collided with Lewis Hamilton's McLaren on the slippery track. This incident not only ended the podium chance, but also ended Lewis Hamilton's race. Then there's also the 2017 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. During a chaotic race that was filled with other incidents, Nico ended up misjudging a corner and he hit the wall, which damaged his car and forced him to retire. He was well positioned at the time, and this error likely cost him another podium finish. And finally, and probably most notably, we get to the 2019 German Grand Prix. This offered Nico's golden opportunity. In the variable wet-dry conditions, Hulkenberg was in a promising position for a podium, but he again slid off track into the gravel, ending his chances. These instances might give the impression that he struggles under pressure, and he can't perform when it matters. But that definitely isn't the case. If anything, consistency is the word that summarizes Hulkenberg's whole career. It's important to remember that in almost all of these circumstances, he was in a car which shouldn't even be up at the podium positions. He was almost always in that position due to his own performance and his own skill. And it's also important to remember that there's races where external factors, not his own mistakes, cost him the podium positions. For example, if we look at 2016 Monaco, Nico qualified 5th and he was on track for a podium, but he ended up getting stuck in traffic after a pit stop and his teammate overtook him for the final podium position. With a different team call and a different strategy, this could have been his maiden podium. And also, you have to look at the 2016 Belgian Grand Prix. He started well, he was initially running in second, but he ended up being overtaken by 2 faster cars after a red flag disrupted his race. His performance up until that point was strong, and if that red flag didn't occur, it would have been an entirely different story. Now, Cyril Abiteboul, the former team manager for Renault when Nico Hulkenberg was their driver, has very high praise for the German, claiming he even had the talent to be a champion if the circumstances did arise. However, in a podcast in late 2023, when he was reflecting on his time in F1, Cyril noted that choosing between him and Esteban Ocon was challenging. Informing Hulkenberg about that decision was one of the toughest moments in Cyril's career, second only to the experience of firing Briatore. He regards Hulkenberg as a top driver, but he also noted that he occasionally lacked that final 1 or 2% needed in the crucial moments. His crash in Germany being a pivotal instance that influenced the decision for his replacement. Now, what can Nico actually do for Audi? Nico is a beacon of consistency at the moment. He can make a definitive statement, showing Audi are picking the drivers they want, not taking the leftovers from the other team. Plus, with his German heritage, it not only helps fitting into Audi's image, but also with their marketing. As silly as it is, German fans will be able to see Hulkenberg on a billboard and say, "That's our Formula 1 driver." And this will boost Audi's efforts to gain a fan base in the sport. He's previously already raced for Sauber as well, so he's familiar with many in that team, and it might help him integrate quicker and contribute more quickly to a team which needs it. Now, of course, there are other alternatives. You've got Carlos Sainz. He's in peak form, and he doesn't have a contract for next year. But Audi also still have a second seat. I doubt that they're going to be hiring anyone else besides Sainz, unless Sainz changes his mind. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But for the other seat, Hulkenberg is the perfect choice. If you think there's another driver who'd fill the seat better, let me know down below. Personally, I still rate Nico as the perfect driver for Audi. If we look at his career, yes, he never got near top level machinery, and yes, he also never picked up those rare podiums like drivers such as Perez were capable of. But he's always been a solid midfield driver, and he could have easily done a great job with the top team if he had the chance. Whether or not he could have bet the number 1 driver and became champion is a whole nother mess. But for Audi, a driver like Nico, if he performs like he did for Renault and Haas, punching above their machinery and being able to provide key technical feedback for the team, I don't see a better choice. I mean, in 2017, when his car wasn't breaking down, he was getting in the mix with the Williams in a car that really wasn't anywhere near as fast. And unlike his former teammate Daniel Ricciardo, who seems to have higher highs but much lower lows, Nico is this perfect safe play for the German manufacturer. And again, as silly as it is, he'll be the only German driver in a German Formula 1 team. He'll be able to be on the billboards, sell t-shirts, and overall just help Audi. It's also worth noting that Hulkenberg now holds 2 records after this weekend's Grand Prix. The first being the most Grand Prix starts without a win, and the second being the most Grand Prix starts without a podium finish. The latter of which he is far clear of any other driver. Hopefully, by going to Audi, he can turn this around and break those records, finally get a podium, or just shake things up a little bit. If you're interested in more Formula 1, watch my video on the day that changed Daniel Ricciardo forever, on screen now, and subscribe.